If you've got something written down where we've got farther or whatever, then we'll stop and start there. But
Think about it, it's all good.
it's all good. Yeah. Mark chapter 3, verse 1. He entered in again into a synagogue, and a man was there whose hand was withered. They were watching him to see if he would heal him on the Sabbath, so that they might accuse him. He said to the man with the withered hand, "Get up and come forward." And he said to them, "Is it lawful to do good or do harm on the Sabbath, to save a life or to kill?" But they kept silent. After looking around at them with anger, grieved at their hardness of heart, he said to the man, "Stretch out your hand." He stretched it out, and his hand was restored. The Pharisees went out and immediately began conspiring with the Herodians against him as how they might destroy him. You know, that's just pretty hard-hearted, isn't it? Here's a man who, it just says he had a withered hand. I'm sure they had polio on that day and time. We were all known people who had polio. A few years ago when they took the COVID shots, a lot of people were afraid to take them. But I remember when the polio shot came out, nobody was afraid to take them. It was such a terrible thing that me and a classmate, a young gal, he's a few years behind me in school, we talked about standing there in Kenna, how long the line was. And Dr. Tom came over and was giving everybody those sugar cubes that had it in it. And everybody's in line. Parents, little kids, big kids, everybody want to take it. So whether this man had polio, whatever, he had a withered hand. That's what it's what. And whatever, and it was something that was with the capabilities that the doctors had in that day and time, there was no cure for a withered hand. Today, there's not much cure for a withered hand. Yes, Mr. Brown.
After seeing that way he is, how can they think
Yes, they say they just had to be terribly hard-hearted. Yeah, that's right. This here is was clear evidence that a miracle had been performed, and yet they're mad about it. Now Jesus doesn't. At times they accuse him of doing work on the Sabbath day. This is a Sabbath day, but Jesus doesn't do anything except for telling him to stretch out his hand, and it was restored. And you notice it said they were mad, and the Pharisees went out and conspired with the Herodians. Now, that's very significant because they didn't get along together at all. The Pharisees didn't like the Sadducees and vice versa, and neither one of them liked the Herodians. What were the Herodians? The name gives you a clue. Yeah, they were Jews who were okay with the Roman government. And Herod was part of it. He was the puppet king, if you would, for the Romans. He was angered about it, wasn't he? There's an occasion or so that he makes a whip and runs them out of the temple, but very seldom does he show anger. But here he said he was angered, and that's what I say. Just how hard-hearted can a person be to be able to see a person who was definitely physically disabled to the point that many tasks he would be unable to do, and now everything's all right. If you don't believe that having a hand that's unusable is a detriment to just try it, many people have had shoulder surgeries and they have to leave their hands in a sling for so long and they're one-handed. Did you ever try to curl your wife's hair because she was one-handed and you don't have any experience at it? Anyway, I learned. Many of you know Jimmy Farber. He got beat up pretty bad by a cow. And just happened there was a guy there to help him get to the doctor. But anyway, it run the nerves in his arm. Happened it was his left arm, but he can't hardly move his whole arm still. It's been several weeks because all the nerves has been damaged in it. He's getting it back a little bit at a time, but he'll probably never be back to full functioning. He can tell you what being one-handed is all about. And so this man here, he would definitely been overjoyed at having his hand restored. Verse 7. Jesus withdrew to the sea with his disciples, and a great multitude from Galilee followed, and also from Judea, and from Jerusalem, and from Idumea, and beyond the Jordan, and the vicinity of Tyre and Sidon. A great number of people heard of all that he was doing and came to him. And he told his disciples that a boat should stand ready for him because of the crowd, so that they would not crowd him. For he had healed many, with the result that all those who had afflictions pressed around him in order to touch him. Whenever the unclean spirits saw him, they would fall down before him and shout, "You are the Son of God." And he earnestly warned them not to tell who he was. And let's stop right there. And here we got people coming from all over the country. It names several different areas here. And they're all wanting to see Jesus. Many of them had afflictions. And they keep crowding him. He's close to have a boat ready. I may have to get the boat to get away. Because everybody wanted to touch him. It does seem that those who touched him, we have several different instances. Those who had touched him who had illnesses, they were healed. Something like this was it wasn't just news, it was big news. It was something really big, Yes, it would be big today if someone actually had the ability to come through and just heal all the people we just got their name in there have illnesses. Just touch them and then they'd be healed completely. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yes. Anyone would be. If they heard of someone who truly was healing people, the land, you couldn't have the place big enough for everybody to be there. Yes, sir.
Even on Sunday, it's all right for you to get the ox. Yeah.
Get the ox out of the ditch. Yes, sir. Then he mentioned the unclean spirits, and when they saw him, they said they would fall down before him and shout, "You are the Son of God." And he would tell them to be quiet, basically. Now, I haven't figured this out. Why? Because he lets people know he's the Son of God, but he doesn't want these evil spirits to let people know that he's the Son of God. I know that because maybe you feel like they're trying to take away, because they are from Satan, and maybe they're trying to take away some of the authority from him or whatever. I have no idea about that part. But it wasn't time yet, okay. But like I said, the news is already out that he can heal people. That's these places it mentioned here. There's a pretty good they didn't have a automobile to jump in and drive 60 miles or 70 miles in an hour. They walked, or some of them might have, if they had money, they might have a chariot or a horse or a donkey to ride on. Most of them went everywhere they went on foot.
First of all, it's kind of peculiar. The Pharisees, supposed to be men of God,
Yes,
they wouldn't recognize him. But the evil spirit, unclean spirit, they
they recognized
recognize him,
him. Yes,
called what he was.
called what he was. You're right. The Pharisees, Paul says it was the strictest sect of the Jews. And they claimed to follow the letter of the law. They come closer than anybody else. But yet they missed the point about the Messiah coming. They missed what he was going to do. They missed all these signs. You heard me mention before, people, God showed us a sign. Well, Jesus showed a lot of signs to a lot of people. And still, those who were hard-hearted, it just didn't do them a bit of good.
Well, when you think about demons that people have, stop to think about if somebody is relaying some news, some really good news to you, your first response may be to grab one who's carrying the message, grab them and hug them, or say thank you to them for telling you, and all of a sudden that person delivering the news gets an elevated
Okay.
level in your eyes. And so if someone hears that he's the Son of God from a demon, then that might raise the credibility for a person to say, well, what else do they know?
Yeah. What else do they know, or what? Who else do they know, or what? Maybe they have a little bit of association with him, because it says they were falling down, causing the person they was inhabiting to fall down like they would worship him. So you're right. That's a good idea there.
If that
Yeah.
enemy is,
Yeah, you have the same enemy, man.
right, so you.
There's a saying, but it's not coming to me, real.
Yes, I don't remember it either.
Yeah.
But human nature hasn't changed any, has it?
No.
If you want to get rid of a problem, what do? You start making plans to kill the person, if it's a person, or kill the movement, or Martin Luther King would be a prime example of this.
Yes.
John Kennedy.
Yeah. He had some new ideas. Martin Luther King had some new ideas. And they were, certain people just couldn't stand it, the new ideas,
Well, the Jews were losing big time.
Yes.
They were losing people,
They couldn't draw crowds like this,
Uh-huh.
And that's the biggest part of it was jealousy, because whenever Jesus came to the synagogue, they didn't listen to any of these guys that's supposed to have all the schooling and all the knowledge and all this. They were listening to Jesus and not them. He was taking away their thunder from them, because they wanted to be boss. And up until Jesus came, they had been boss.
Virgil.
Yes.
Okay, when they would read in the synagogue,
Yes.
did they read those scriptures to the people? Or did they?
The scriptures tell us that they read the law of Moses every Sabbath day. Every time, we take, we start and we work our way through that. I'm sure that they did something maybe on that same kind of scale. remember that many people couldn't read. And so they went to, when they went to the synagogue on the Sabbath day, then and the scribes read part of the old law, and that way it refreshed their mind on what the old law said, because they couldn't, some of them, they could read, they couldn't afford to get their hands on the scroll, because remember, everything's hand copied.
Well, do you think they read the scriptures that told about Jesus and the things he was doing?
I'm sure they did, they didn't understand it. Or maybe they didn't want to understand that. You know, even the disciples didn't understand, because they were all looking for an earthly king.
And if you don't want to understand it, you're not going to. You're going to find it.
Do what now?
If you don't want to understand it, if it's going to take your power away or
Yeah.
your high appointment away, they're not going to want to.
They're not doing it. If you don't want to understand it, you're just not going to. You know, what does it say? Having ears to hear, they don't hear, and having eyes to see, they don't see. But they don't make up their mind to what's right and what's wrong, and they're not going to listen to anybody else.
Well, the woman at the well, she had heard about the coming of Jesus. She told the people in town that she'd seen the Messiah.
They were all looking for a Messiah, yes. Everybody was looking, but they wanted him to be an earthly king. And if you go back and look at the prophecies, you can see why they misunderstood it, because the kings they had was the great kings like David and Solomon, and those that governed all their area and kept everybody safe from from outside forces. And so Jesus is going to be, the Messiah is going to be like a king after David, and he would reign forever. That kingdom would. So that's what they were looking for. Run the Romans out of town, and we're going to have an earthly king.
The woman at the well had a person-to-person encounter with Jesus before she went to the village to tell what she knew.
Yes.
And, first thing she said to them was, he told me everything I ever did.
Yeah, he knows everything about me. I heard,
Right. And so, that obviously gave Jesus credibility in her eyes. And so she was convinced by the fact that he knew things about her that he otherwise could not have known.
Yeah.
And so since he had that knowledge, she was convinced that he was the Messiah.
Yeah.
So she told what she knew. She didn't know everything about him, but she told him what she knew.
Yeah.
On the day that Jesus was crucified, all of the sects of the Jews had to be happy. They had to be thrilled. Like, we've gotten rid of this problem.
Yeah.
We're not going to have any more problems like what we have here, where the crowds are so big and he's healing people and he's taking people away. They thought the problem was solved by his death. And it wasn't solved. If
No.
anything, it just spread more.
Spread more, yeah.
Of what happened 3 days after his death.
Christianity spread and Judaism diminished. And it never has regained because, in fact, it's over as far as the old law is concerned. Jesus completed it. They're just those that still want to hang on to that part of their genealogy and all this kind of stuff. Our time's about up. What is today, 23rd?
Second.
22nd. Okay. Next week will be the 29th. We'll start on around verse 13.